To give you an exercise that targets a hip hike would to continually push the narrative that a problem like that could be resolved with an exercise. Exercises don't fix these problems, programs do. Now, let me explain that further. So, first of all, if the pelvis is elevated on one side, it doesn't just do that for no reason. It's doing that as a reaction and a response to dysfunction in the ankles, knees, hips, pelvis, and shoulders. The pelvis cannot elevate without the entire body also being affected. So if I were to just give you a couple hip pelvic exercises and we do not address A, why that pelvis is elevating in the first place, but also B, how that body, your entire body around the elevated pelvis has had to move, shift, deviate, compensate, whatever the reaction the rest of your body has had to do in a response to the elevated pelvis. If that's not dealt with, the pelvis is just going to go right back to being elevated. So let's say I give you some mind-blowing corrective exercises that level that pelvis. If your shoulder dysfunction is why the pelvis elevated, it's going to go right back to being elevated in a matter of hours because why it is elevated was not addressed. We just strengthened the structure around the hip and the pelvis to make things work a little better, but it was a band-aid because the true dysfunction was not addressed. Now, aside from the pelvis being elevated in a response to original dysfunction, we got to understand that nothing in the body works in isolation. We can't pinpoint and target areas when it comes to corrective exercise. We have to deal with the body as a whole. Now, I would have to assume this isn't the first time you've asked this question. You've probably gone on YouTube. You've probably Google searched exercises that correct a hip hike. I think you're still looking because the question itself is trapping you in thinking that there is an exercise out there that can target this. If there was, either I haven't found it yet, or I would have found it at this point 10 years into understanding the art and science of corrective exercise. There's only the entire body. So when I say exercises don't fix this, programs do, it takes restoring function to the entire human movement system, the entire body, if we are going to level and rebalance function.